Welcome back to Calcio Guys. Joining us now, Nick Dianni from the Kicks and Picks podcast. Feels like you're probably our number one guest. Nick, how's it going?
It's going, man. Appreciate it. That's a great distinction to have. I'm honored. Thank you guys for having me back.
Of course. Always
we
a
love
pleasure.
you. We always love having
Always
you.
always a pleasure.
Love you guys.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Guys, Champions League's back this week. New format. New format that we all have to learn. I thought I learned it, but every time I think about it, I forget about it. But 36 teams play 8 games. Giant table for everyone. No groups. Top 8 advance to the round of 16. Teams 9 through 24 advance to the knockout phase. Teams 25 through 36 get eliminated entirely. I think that's it, guys. Am I correct?
Sounds about right.
I don't know. I don't have any teams in Champions League, so I haven't paid attention.
It's basically the Super League. We spoke about this a couple weeks ago, but it's Champions League in quotations.
Yeah, exactly. So, I kind of want to talk about more than just the Italian teams. That's why we have you on, Nick. You're the expert in terms of betting odds and favorites. And I mean, right off the bat, we know who the favorite teams are. Already, you can name Man City and Real Madrid, easily top 2 as favorites, especially Real Madrid. They're the kings of this competition, but we'll see if they're still the kings in this new format. Is there a team that's already the betting favorite to win it all come, I guess, next May or next June, whenever the final is?
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. The two teams that are always the favorites are the 2 favorites. The interesting thing here is there's 2 ways to bet on it at this point. You can bet on the Champions League winner from the start, right? Right now, you can say, hey, I believe in this team. They're going to win the Champions League. Normal futures betting market. The difference with this new, I believe they're calling it the league stage, right? The one big table, right?
Yeah.
Through those 8 games. You can kind of separate the betting into just focusing on the league stage. And I think that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting because, not everything is equal. You can kind of take a look at a particular team, obviously how strongly you feel about them or their depth, but the schedule comes into play in a big, big way because not everybody plays everybody else, right? You can be a strong-ish team, but have a really easy schedule. You could be the best team and have the hardest schedule. So I think that gives another layer, of nuance into this, right? It's brand new. It's brand new for everybody. The other thing that really it takes away from, in my opinion, is kind of that home field advantage. I think it's way more luck of the draw, at this point in time. If you had, 2 teams that are evenly matched, right? Let's say, I'm just looking at them, Lille from France and Stuttgart from Germany. If they were going to play each other, let's say they're neck and neck teams. Well, you get to play the other one at your home field, right? No matter what, that's a big, big advantage. Well, now only one of them gets to play the other at home. So just trying to understand the scheduling, trying to understand, the fixture lists, how they're impacted, what other competitions these teams are in, what the League Cup schedule looks like. Obviously, domestic leagues. We already just came off of an international fixture list, 2 weeks of that. It's tough to make heads or tails of it, boys. I mean, I think I'm looking most forward to the chaos. I think that's the point I'm ultimately getting to is, these players play a lot of games. They got some tired legs. It's early in the season, but we just watched a 38-game season on top of Champions League, on top of Euros, on top of a Copa America. All these top teams have players that are impacted. So we're week 4 into the domestic league season, and we've already had 2 friendlies. We've had cup games, and now we have Champions League spanning 3 days of this midweek and I believe next week. So I think we're going to lose a little bit of what we've known, what we've come to love, right? The way it was, Champions League and the group stage and, planning for that. But I don't know. I'm trying to be positive about it and say it's not just a cash grab for UEFA and the clubs, but it's going to be good for the fans also, right? We're going to get to see more games, and it's going to be absolutely hectic. So that's what I'm trying to come to terms with here from the betting front, right? Man City is still your favorite. Real Madrid is still second. What's going to happen after that? Anybody's guess.
What about for the Italian teams? Like, I mean, in terms of the Italian teams in Champions League, since we are on the Calcio Guys tonight, what are because I don't know, you know better than me, but maybe the favorites. I guess it would be Inter, but just maybe I don't know if the odds are all available for all the Italian teams. If you can give us some information on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the league stage winner, Inter is the Italian team with the best odds. They're plus 2,000. So just to level set, Man City is plus 300. Real Madrid is plus 500. You have Arsenal and Bayern Munich, who are both at around plus 700. Everybody else is plus 1,000 or higher. So Inter's at plus 2,000. Juve plus 3,000. AC Milan plus 4,000. Atalanta plus 5,000. And Bologna, we don't have to talk about them.
So you're telling me if I place $5 on Inter, my future is for Inter to win the Champions League, I can make $100 off $5. You said it was plus 2,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's slap it in. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Those are really high odds. No, don't you find?
I think they have a tough schedule. I think all the Italian teams really got a raw deal. No, not a raw deal, but I think there's not really an easy schedule between the teams. I think I don't personally rate Liverpool or Dortmund or Atletico or PSG better than Inter. I just think they have more favorable schedules.
They're still good teams. They're still good teams.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're still good teams. And then exactly to Nick's point before is that like, are you playing the Liverpools, the Atleticos at home or away or you know? So it's all I think all a bit of a mess, but you know, so it really depends. I mean, it's no longer like you said, Nick. You have that cushion of, you know, feeling that, you know, you have your home fans behind you. You might get the game against, I don't know, Aston Villa at home, and then, you know, you're away to City or whatever the case may be for whatever of these teams. So it's really you know, a hit or miss.
Yeah, actually, I want to run through the opponents for each of the Italian teams now.
Go for it.
So Inter, they were in pot 1. It feels like they got the toughest draw. So they got Leipzig, Man City, Arsenal, Bayern Leverkusen, Red Star Belgrade, Young Boys, Monaco, Sparta Prague, Atalanta, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Arsenal, Shakhtar Donetsk, Celtic, Young Boys, Stuttgart, and VfB Stuttgart, Juve, Man City, Leipzig, Benfica, Club Brugge, PSV Eindhoven, Lille, VfB Stuttgart, and Aston Villa. Milan, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Club Brugge, Bayern Leverkusen, Red Star Belgrade, Dinamo Zagreb, Girona, and Slovan Bratislava. And finally, Bologna, Borussia Dortmund, Liverpool, Shakhtar Donetsk, Benfica, Lille, Sporting Club, Monaco, and Aston Villa. And so, you know, looking at these, you see it scrolling across the bottom. Inter, it feels like they have some really tough opponents. It almost feels like Bologna got a better draw. All things considered that they're in pot 4. Sure, they're going to be playing Borussia Dortmund, Liverpool. But other than that, okay, I'm not saying these other clubs, the way Bologna is playing, they're not going to beat. But just in terms of talent, just overall, if Inter had Bologna's schedule, I think would be a lot easier for Inter. They seem like they have a tough draw. You know, looking at the pot 2 teams, Atalanta, Juve, Milan, it feels like it's pretty even. Maybe Milan has.
I think Juve has the easiest. I think.
Yeah, I think Juve has the easiest. Atalanta maybe a bit harder than Milan. But it's so hard to predict, especially because this is the first year. We don't know what the past is like. So it's interesting. Obviously, a lot of these teams kind of share opponents, like Aston Villa.
It's playing everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
right?
Bologna and Juve. They're playing Bologna and Juve. So, you know, a couple of the Italian teams, they share opponents. But yeah, it's weird. It's so hard to compare when you have standings and you're not playing the same opponents.
And this is what I'll say, man. You know, we talk about Juve having an easier schedule, let's say. At home to PSV. PSV, please, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they were the Dutch champions last year, right?
It's possible.
Let's see here.
Or if they weren't, they're damn
Dutch
sure
guys,
a perennial contender, right, for the last 2, 3, 4 years. Away to Leipzig, right, a team that has already beaten I can't even think of the German team that was undefeated last year.
Bayer Leverkusen.
already beaten Leverkusen this year. Thank you. I'm sorry. Why'd you guys bring me on? Now you're having second thoughts here. Stuttgart, right? Top 4, top 5 team in Germany year after year. Lille, okay, that one's maybe okay. Villa, Champions League team, obviously, right? Top 6 team for the past 3 or 4 years. Man City, Club Brugge, who made it out of the group stage last year in Champions League, right? I mean, away, not the easiest fixture. And then you got Benfica, who's top 3, top 2, top 1 in Portugal every year. So,
Nick, which
where's
league
this is Juventus.
which league were you asking about, by the way?
Juventus that didn't score a goal the last 2 games. Juventus that.
But if Juventus
that hasn't been in Champions League in 2 years, remember?
The spicy response by Dianni.
20,000 years later, they haven't been in Champions League. But this is Juventus. If they want to be serious about fucking in this tournament,
100%.
these are teams that you should beat.
Absolutely agree with that. I remember
Juve
the last time in Champions League they lost to Maccabi and the same Benfica team, right? Or Sporting or whatever it was.
Benfica always gives us issues in Champions League.
It feels like you guys always get Benfica and Bruges. I don't know if that's or something. You know what I mean? It's always that. But anyway.
I think that's who they played in their Europa League run.
2023.
So
whatever.
That's why.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. These are teams Juventus should aspire to beat. These are teams that don't match up, right, in terms of aspirations, historical significance. But there's no layups. I mean, it's not the same game.
I'm not saying there's any pushover team, but I think if Juventus are serious, I think their biggest task is who? City. In that?
Sure.
City, and who else is a quote unquote big team in their group? It's them and City.
I mean, Leipzig's good. Leipzig's a good
really
team.
good.
There's a reason they were in pot 1.
Yeah, but look at the league that they play in. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know. I think Juventus are stronger than most of those teams. And this is a Milanista saying this. Like, if they're serious and they want to be, taken seriously, I think they have no choice but to go back into Champions League and take care of their business, because I don't know, I know Inter are the betting favorites, but I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Juventus to get out of there. With I don't know how many points is going to get you in that top 8. Maybe we can talk about that, but
that's the fascinating part, right?
I don't know. I don't know. What's the over under on how many points they should be getting to secure that top 8. I don't know, but I think they have the chance to do it. In terms of who they're playing.
What was the league that you wanted to find out who won last year? It was the Dutch league, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Eindhoven that won. Eindhoven that won the league.
Yeah, PSV. That's them.
So PSV, right?
Yep.
Yeah, PSV.
So they won the league last year. So that, I mean,
7 points. Second place for Feyenoord.
Yeah, but the Italian league or Dutch league. I mean, I'm sorry. You're gonna call a spade, there.
I mean, Dutch league has had
2024, man. I think you have to. You got a team like Feyenoord that's been in the final of European competition. What, three times in the last 5 or 6 years. You got Ajax, who's every team in this competition has picked a player from one time or another.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, but I got to see it from Juve first before I
no, absolutely. But I want to say here first that they have the excuses, and it should be for all the Italian teams for that matter. I'm just saying Juve because I think they have, in terms of schedule wise, I think they have the best chance to advance and pick up the most points. Not saying that they're better than Inter, because clearly Inter are better, but I think they should. I'm not saying they will, but they should pick up the most points in terms of the Italian teams, maybe battling with Inter, depending. But I think Inter's schedule is a bit tougher, and we'll see how much they can handle this year in terms of another year of fighting for Scudetto and fighting in Champions. Nick, what do you think? Am I wrong for saying that, or you're the Juve fan? I mean, I think
this is a different Juve. We talked about it last week. Like, this is a young team. Yeah. Look, they're struggling against Empoli. The magic already from the first 2 games has already worn off. This is a team with so many new transfers, a new coach, new system. Yes, obviously I want them to finish top 24, advance to the next round. That has to be the goal.
Yeah.
But on paper, yes, they probably got a favorable draw They could have got worse, more difficult teams to play against.
Yeah.
But we know from Champions League, anything could happen. And these are teams that you don't play against normally. Sure, it's easy for us to say, it's just Eindhoven, it's just Leipzig. Leipzig is probably the team I'm worried about most. Pretty much as Man City. That's gonna be a tough game. And I think that's away. So that's probably one game that Juve is probably already the underdogs. I don't know if it's tomorrow that they play, or they play Eindhoven tomorrow. I already forget.
Yep. Early game. Yep.
Eindhoven or Leipzig?
It's Juve Eindhoven.
Yep.
Okay, it's Eindhoven tomorrow.
In Juve or in Eindhoven?
Yeah, at home.
At home. Okay.
But I wouldn't bet money for them to finish top 8. Let's put it that way. Especially after seeing the performances from the last 2 weeks. It's somewhat disappointing, but it's also growing pains. And this Champions League is going to be part of the growing pains.
No. And it's impossible to make the comparison, Adri, but take the champions of Holland, right? Are they at least a 6th place team in Italy?
They're probably
depends who you ask,
better,
right?
Depends who you ask. I mean,
so
you might think yes, I might think no, and whatever. But
okay, but the point is, we just watched Juve. It's not apples to apples, dude. It's impossible to make the comparison. But we just watched Juve struggle to Empoli. We just watched them struggle against a Roma team who's looked really, really bad so far this year. So PSV winning their league has to count for something, right?
No, I'm not taking it away from them, but at the same time, we're talking about Juve. We're not talking about Atalanta. All due respect, that has no history in this competition, has no aspirations to do well. They have the aspirations, obviously, to do well, but the DNA, Juve. Well, the only thing that matters for Juve is to win, right?
Sure.
We always say that, right? It's their motto, right? It's not about playing good; it's about winning, right? So, again, my only point is not discrediting any opposition that they're going to play, but my point is that if Juve, what have they been searching for the past 27 years, 28 years? What is it? They haven't won the Champions League. They've been searching for the Champions League. They brought in Ronaldo. They brought on all these pieces for the Champions League. They haven't done it yet. If they're serious, that's my point. If they want to be serious about the competition, they need to go all out. And I'm not saying they're going to win it. Like it's still a hard competition to win. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy. It's not just saying, okay, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to win the Champions League. No, I get that. But at the same time, I think, and it pains me to say it because I'm a rival fan, but if I take off that cap, this is a good team, I think. And they're coached well. Yes, okay, there's 2 weeks of struggle. But were we singing the same tune when they start off the season well? No. So it's going to be an up and down thing. I think the growing pains, to Nick's point, is our Nick, not Dianni, our Nick, is definitely something to look at. But I don't know. I think they have what it takes to do well. And again, my whole point is, if they're serious about this Champions League and about this competition, they should go far.
How about the other Italian teams, Nick? I know we talked about Inter. You said they're the betting favorites. But what do you think about their draw? Gianni's been quiet, so maybe Gianni, you can give your opinions too.
Honestly, I don't have much in terms, because like I said, I've kind of tuned out for Champions League because none of my teams are in it. It is an interesting concept of how they're formatting it this year. But, I mean, regardless whether my teams are in it or not, it is a fair point where it's like internationally, besides, I mean, like, look, recently in the lower cups, let's say, we've been having appearances in the final, and then, like Inter has also done great work, and in it, like recent history, some of the Italian teams have been doing well in Champions League too, at least making semifinals appearances. It's time to, I think, even though it is kind of like a negative sense, maybe something like this could be a positive for the Italian teams, especially when you have 8 games to play in qualifiers, I guess. So you know what I mean? You have it's not your usual 6 where it's like, okay, well, you're like you can either be out of it early on or you're gonna have to climb up. 8 games, you have a little bit more wiggle room and stuff. It does add more to the load, but it could be also be a blessing in disguise. That's just me being hopeful. The different opponents and different matchups could be beneficial to the team, because sometimes you get put in this group. Why am I all blurry all of a sudden? Hello, focus camera. Okay, there we go.
You're back.
I'm back. I almost got Thanos snapped there for a second. Yeah, it's just like sometimes, you know, like you get put in this group of death where it's like no matter who you face, you're screwed. Like look at Bologna, for example. Like now Bologna, they got gutted. They got gutted after in this offseason. Like we all knew. We all expected it, right? But you know, if you're a fan of Bologna, the fact that you get 8 games in Champions League, if Joey Saputo, he's rolling in the dough already, but he's gonna be making more dough now, getting at least 4. I think he's got 4 home games more or less.
Yep.
Yeah, it's half. Yeah, half away, half home.
You know, like instead of only getting 3, now you get 4. You get that additional one for income. It's good. Definitely the stadium's going to sell out, whether it's a win loss. You get to play against different for them. You know, maybe those 8 games can be nice because you might get some surprises from them. So, all in all, it could be a blessing in disguise. I'm a bit more on the hopeful side, but it's so hard, especially as the first time of this format. It's so hard to make you just got to throw something against the wall and hope it sticks. You know, your teams can either crash and burn, or your team can, you know, like because of this whole like expanded format, might actually beneficial for them because they might get matchups. They might dodge certain matchups that might have been terrible for them in group stages, so to speak, and now actually get favorable matchups and have like a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like a masked success, but like it's like
you take advantage of what's in front of you, right?
Like it's just you know, luck of the draw, I guess. That's probably
I think you both made outstanding points. I mean, Adriano, to go back to what you're saying, and then Johnny, what you touched on. I mean, at the end of the day, we got 5 teams in this competition, right, as a league. So we've been doing something right. Okay, you're like, man, I came in hot. I'm sorry. I'll apologize. I'm just, you know, I'm trying to
apologize for that.
I'm trying to be level-headed and not prop up the Italian teams, because it's too easy for us to do that. But we've clearly done something very right to get to this point. Yeah. This to me is going to show, okay, was it real? Like, do we, you know, now we're playing 4 or 5 teams from England. We're playing the best teams from Germany, and everybody's playing each other. Spain is having a resurgence from a La Liga standpoint. I mean, let's see. You know, you look at a Bologna, I wonder, right? Because they look like shit. They have a coach who I don't particularly like. I'll let I'm sure you guys have commented on that plenty. But we already know they're not finishing top 4. It's statistically impossible, right? They don't have the squad to do it. There's teams better than them. They've started with 0 wins, I think, in 4 games. How much emphasis do they now put into these 8 games, right? I think maybe they go all in this every game is a final for them, because there's some teams that are beatable, or at least on their level, or at least we perceive to be on their level. So it's just going to be an unreal dynamic. I think that's just what we can't account for at this point in time until we see it. And
especially for them too, you know, I mean, love him or hate the coach, you know, Italiano, everybody has their opinions on him, so that's fine. But still a coach that has brought a Fiorentina team in Conference League, has some quote unquote European experience, if you will. I know it's the 3rd tier, but you know, still having that in his back pocket to kind of know what to expect. Obviously, you don't know what to expect on Champions League nights because they're always different, like Nick said there. But I mean, listen, I like what Johnny said, because I think those 4 games, at home are everything for Bologna, I think, this season, because especially after everything that happened in terms of getting gutted, coach gone, star players gone, the people that brought you to this competition are gone for the most part. You know, and you kind of have to do it on a different way that you kind of got there. It is obviously not an ideal thing, but it's going to be huge. I think, you know, those 4 games, that especially for a team that hasn't touched a competition of this magnitude in quite some time, it's definitely something to cherish and win or lose. I mean, it's you know, they're not gonna win them all, and hopefully they don't lose them all. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I'm the least optimistic about is Milan. I think that's kind of where my my sentiments are for that, because if you want to talk about a team playing bad, it's Milan.
Guys, I mean, look, we have sorry Dianni and Nick, but Roma, Napoli, Lazio, you guys aren't in it, but let's just say in terms of betting odds, let's say as fans of Italian teams, obviously me as Juve fan, AJ as a Milan fan, forgetting about odds and stuff. Do you guys have any expectations at all from these Italian teams? Because I know we just spoke ad nauseum about Juve, but
I expected it to go the furthest.
Yeah,
Into the furthest.
Yeah, to go the absolute furthest.
Yeah.
Like, so what do you think? What do you think the points are? Sorry to cut you off, Nick. Like,
that's so hard to say.
Like, what's like a good number of points for them to even finish like top 8, or in terms of finishing? Like, we don't even know that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and that's,
you can predict.
That's the variable. And like to talk about Bologna, right? Because I had their schedule pulled up. You have a home game against Shakhtar, which is the first game. You have a home game against Lille. You have to win. If you have a chance of progressing, you have to get 6 points in those 2 games, right? Mm-hmm. Then you look at the rest of their schedule, very difficult. Do they pick up another win? Do they pick up 2 draws? Now you're talking about 8 points. Does 8 points do it? Like, for any of these teams, I don't know, because there's 8 teams that are going to get eliminated. Do we think there's teams who aren't going to get 2 wins? Or it's just
every win is what, 2 points or 3? Sorry, I missed out on that point.
It should be 3, right?
3.
Yeah.
Regular
8 points does nothing, in my opinion.
Might be enough to get you really close to that.
You think 8 points does something or does nothing? Sorry, Johnny thinks nothing, and Dianni, you think it might?
It's going to be right. I mean, I think like 9 points is probably it. 9 to 10 like has to be the goal for any team. I would imagine, but we don't know. I mean, like, how many points is Celtic going to get?
Fair enough.
It's
how
a
many
fair
points
point.
Is Bratislava going to get? Like, I don't know.
It's a fair point because the max is 8 times 3. It's 24 points.
Yeah. So the way I see it, it's
9 to 10. It's 50%.
What's the max? 24. You said.
Yeah,
24 points is the max.
8 times 3, right, Johnny?
8 times 3 is 24. But the way I see it, it's like, okay, so there's. Hold on, let me just count the teams here. So 36.
24,
yeah, the thing is, 12 teams get eliminated. So for if you get 9 points for, let's say, 12 teams to finish less than that, it's tough. I would say 10 is probably a bit more realistic.
It's top teams. 8. I'm sorry, I thought it was just 8 teams that got eliminated. All right, I'm going to change my.
Yeah, 10 might not even. I don't even think 10 does.
It's got to be 12. It's
top 8 make it for sure. And then from 9th to 24th, you're in the playoffs to make it into the next round.
Yeah. So Nick explained it, but like I don't know. 10 even seems too low in my opinion.
Might be.
The way I see it, there's probably gonna be at least 2 or 3 teams that are gonna be undefeated for sure. It's probably gonna be 2 or 3 teams. They're probably. It's I mean, like, there's gonna be at least, like, it's. I honestly.
You think Real?
Because my brain is kind of like using, like, I know please let me explain before you guys laugh or interrupt me. Go. So my brain is kind of using the whole trading card game tournament mentality where they have 8 rounds of Swiss before they do any type of top cut elimination round, right? And there's at the end of these rounds, there's always going to be maybe 1 to 2 teams, or in this case, decks that are always going to be undefeated. That are always I'm kind of, and especially like in a tournament of like 36 teams. There always is going to be like, it's enough rounds to have like at least there's going to be like maybe 1 or 2 teams that are going to be undefeated. So maybe 3 was a bit overzealous when I say undefeated, maybe just wins and draws. But there could like it's like to make it into a top 8 spot. Like you can't have more than I'm going to be a bit overzealous and say you can't have more than 1 loss. If you already have more than 1 loss, I don't think you're making that top 8 spot. Like you could have 1 loss and a couple of draws is fine, but like you can't have 2+ losses.
So what? So
like if
let's say the 8th place team. What's the lowest they can have in terms of?
I'm not saying that. Like what is the absolute lowest, 18, right? 18, like it
19.
could be like 6, 1, and 2, like the 8th place team. They could be. Sorry, that's 9 games. My bad. 6, 1, and 1. It could be. It could be like a 5, 1, and 2, maybe. it's hard because then you have to compete with the other 6 1-1s or the 5 1-2s if there's tiebreakers that are involved too.
Yeah.
I think besides looking at the points, I think 3 wins is probably good enough to get you through in the top 24. That's
3
probably
wins?
Let's say 3 wins. That's 9 points. You know, maybe a draw or 2.
I don't think
4
that's,
wins.
Oh,
4 wins.
well,
You should
including
be
the
good.
draws, you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at a minimum,
4
you need
wins.
at least. Yeah. In terms
No,
of
4
points, I
wins
would
would put you. 4 wins, I think, would put you in the realm of a playoff spot.
I think so.
Yeah.
12
I
points.
agree.
12
Yeah.
points, I think, is at the bare
Yeah.
minimum, I think. Because 10 is not enough. I don't see it. And 12 is even, for me, it's even kind of iffy, but
No.
I would say 12.
I would say 3 or less. Yeah, 12 points. So 3 or less wins will probably put you in the elimination zone. I feel like that's probably what's going to happen. I think that's the minimum cutoff. But then again, it's the first time we see a format like this, right? So so we don't even know what the standard is. We're just making educated guesses, or in the words of Deadpool, an educated wish.
In quotations, educated.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun, boys. It's gonna be fun.
It's a unique format. That's
It's
what
like
I'm
a
excited
bloodbath.
for.
Yeah.
This thing is crazy.
And so, Adri, like you said, you're down on Milan, dude. I'm looking at their fixture list. It's definitely
tough.
difficult.
It's tough.
But dude, it's front
hard.
loaded. I mean, the last 4 games, you pretty much still control your own destiny, right? Not easy to travel to the Czech Republic. Not easy to travel to Serbia, but
we can't even travel to Parma and win.
you
So
gotta,
imagine in Czech Republic or wherever.
destinies
Czechia,
in their
whatever they call
hands, man.
themselves.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough. You know, to start off the tournament, you know, I know it's cliche, but it's not how the saying. You know, it's not how you start; it's how you finish. But they need some sort of hope at the beginning. They play Liverpool tomorrow to kick things off. You know, they obviously have a rivalry there historically in this competition. You know, but again, it's not the present, it's not the past, it's the present, and you know what we're seeing on the pitch, we're gonna need to see more, in my opinion, as a Milan fan, and just, you know, if you support you know, the league and you want to see Italian teams do well, you're gonna need to see more. So it's gonna be tough, and because like we're saying, you know, yeah, okay, those 3 wins, maybe 4 wins are gonna be good, but you know, there's, you know, what is it? How many teams are there? 36 teams, you said, in this competition? There's 35 other teams you're battling against.
Yeah.
And if you're in a tiebreaker with, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 teams at that, you know, 18 to 24 range there, and you're maybe that odd man out, that odd team out at 25 or what have you. You know, it's, I don't know how the tiebreakers are going to work. As it goes for, is it what? I didn't really look into it. I don't know if you guys know, but it's going to be tough. So obviously finishing strong is good, and there's quote unquote easier games like you're saying, and I agree with you there, Nick. But I think the start is also important, because you know, if you start off already on the back foot, I don't know currently how I feel about the team. I don't know if they're going to have enough to finish the job when it counts.